We've got a very steep increase in altitude over a small area. If you look at the Western Tiers, it's a pretty difficult area to settle, so it's remained fairly wildernessy. It's fairly untouched. There has been logging on the slopes of the Tiers, especially on the flatter areas they're called the benches. There has been logging there in the past, but today a lot of that area, although some of it is still state forest, it's part of it is World Heritage Area, and its inaccessibility has protected it.
The Tiers' timelessness and majesty have inspired generations of Tasmanians in poetry, art and folklore, like the stories told from beyond on the Central Plateau by the snarers of old who plundered the fur of its wallaby and possum in the days when Europeans put a premium on their pelts. They built huts of split wood to pull them through some furious winters, and some got snowed in for weeks. In the summer, generations of stockmen drove their herds up the slopes of the Tiers to find native pasture in the days when these lowlands we're riding through weren't cleared. For Tasmanian Aborigines, the Tiers are sacred.
We don't call the Great Western Tiers we call it Cooperuna Nyara. My grandmother called it Cooperuna Nyara because Moini, our creator spirit, was sent down on top of that mountain, and from there he created the 9 different nations, and he broke the stone tools and he started off our race. And Mountain of Spirits is what Cooperuna Nyara means if you translate it into English.
Aboriginal Hank Horton recalls how old-timers like his grandfather battled the cruelest conditions, trapping and snaring for the fur trade on top of the Tiers and beyond.
It was a very spiritual mountain, and Pop felt he was able to go up on that mountain and supply for his family by utilising those skills that he had from a traditional background. He was gone for 4 months of the year. We wouldn't see our Pop for 4 months. He was on that top Central Plateau in the roughest and coldest part of the year. He was up there in winter months doing this snaring, because that's when the skins were the big flush skins for the possums, and the fur was great. So he used to go up in those times, and I can remember us walking up in knee-deep snow, and I still don't know how the old fella actually survived up there for 3 and 4 months. He used to say he used to have wallaby patties. He'd have wallaby patties for breakfast and wallaby patties for tea and wallaby patties for lunch. So he obviously lived on wallaby the whole 4 months. And it was just amazing. But he was able to transfer so many skills to us boys and pass on so much wonderful knowledge. And now we have a great connection that we're able to live with.
I would not recommend people being on the plateau unless the forecast is for northerly weather, and if it's forecast westerly weather or snow, if it ever says snow on the highlands, unless you think you're really experienced and know what you're on about, I wouldn't go there.
Guide Sandy Tiffin knows firsthand the dangers of tackling the Tiers.
It's very flat, it's subject to a lot of low cloud cover, and you think you know where you are, but I can assure you when it whites out, you wouldn't have a clue where you are, because it's a very featureless landscape in some areas. In the last ice age, it got scraped clean. There's a whole band of sandstone going around the Tiers in which you'll find a lot of overhangs and caves. Some Aboriginal artefacts have been found in some of those caves, but those are generally not open to the public.
The rock escarpment along the Great Western Tiers is full of rock shelters, and there is even a lot of scientific evidence, so to speak, to support the fact that the Palatory people and many Aboriginal people who visited this area lived in those rock shelters. If you have the ability to get out and walk around and imagine that you would look for your best natural environment to live in, that you would utilise rock shelters and caves too. So there'd be a lot of travelling from the mountains down to the open plains.
Tasmanian Aborigine Darlene Mansell.